Every once in a while, a single skill comes along that changes everything for a creator. It's not the camera, it's not the lighting, it's not even the sound. It's the hook and the intro. It's the art of the first 10 seconds of your video, and today we're going to help you nail that. So Carl, I've been really excited to do this one. We've been wanting to do this one for weeks, haven't we? It's probably one of the most important things after the title and your thumbnail that's really important to a video.
And yeah, it's so important for the new YouTubers because it's the quickest win that you can get when you're starting out your YouTube journey. If you can get good at the hook and getting people enticed and intrigued to watch the rest of your video, going to build you the most momentum out of anything that you can do for your channel.
And do you also think as well that it kind of affects the dopamine of somebody when they've actually clicked on the title and thumbnail? For example, they're scrolling, they really want to try and find something that's going to entertain them and educate them at the same time, but they kind of need this kind of dopamine hit as soon as they actually, click on the video.
Yeah, attention is such a commodity that everyone is really challenging and fighting over on YouTube. So it's so important that you do grab their attention with your hook and convince them what you're going to give them and the benefit they're going to get out of watching your video.
Yeah, and we've spoken about this a few times, Carl, regarding the kind of the benefit that people get once they actually click on your title and the thumbnail. In essence, what generally happens is, as a new creator, they have this really MrBeasty type thumbnail on their channel, on their video. And when somebody clicks on it, the hook and intro have nothing to do, the payoff has got nothing to do with what's on the actual thumbnail. And then the problem they find is, as soon as that happens, there's a massive drop off because what's on the thumbnail is not what the person is talking about in the hook and the intro. Have you found that as well?
Yeah, there's when you have that mismatch, or if it's just slightly not aligned, you can see the data straight away. People are going to lose interest and drop off the video really, really quickly. So that is the biggest thing to make sure when you are building out your hook and writing your hook for your video. Make sure that it is aligned, that the promise of your hook and what you talk about in the hook sits well with your promise of your title and your thumbnail. Because if they are just offline, you're going to see a massive drop off in that retention graph for your video.
Yeah, and obviously we can see it on the actual slide here as well. It's obviously showing the drop off, the critical point at 10 seconds. What's really weird as well, it generally does happen at 10 seconds, doesn't it? It's if you look at so many videos across your channel, there's so many times that 10 seconds. It's almost as if your audience is kind of giving you time to actually deliver what the actual thumbnail and title said. And if you don't do that in the first 10 seconds, hence the reason why the hook and the intro is so important, you see this massive drop off.
Yeah, and so important to look at that 10-second mark. How many of the viewers that started watching your video is still watching? And you'll see this in your analytics. Some new YouTubers are losing 40 to 50% of their viewers in the first 10 seconds. And if you think about all the hard work that you put into making a video, you lose half your audience in the first 10 seconds, then the only thing that you can blame is your hook. You need to make sure that that hook is serving your viewers and talking directly to them to explain the benefits and explain the reason why they should watch your video.
I think you also came up with a good idea as well. I think you taught it to me and you've spoken to other members about this regarding maybe actually recording 3 or even 4 hooks and intros as well. And I know it seems a little extreme, but if you think about it logically, your hook, your intro are that important. You may as well film 3 or 4 different types of hooks and intros. And then basically, obviously, when you're going through the recording and editing, listen back to see which one you feel is going to be the most powerful.
Yeah, such a good way to do it. There's the more you can do. If you can do 2 or 3 different hooks, then in your edit you have the option. You can choose between which one you think comes across the best, which one works the best with your thumbnail and title. And then the second order consequences to doing that is it helps you get more reps in quicker. So the hooks are so important. So the quicker you can get better at, first of all, writing the hooks, and then second of all, delivering the hooks or presenting the hooks on camera, because it's not just what you're saying, it's also your hand movement and your body position and how you present the words and the speed that you present the words and the cadence you use the words with. There's so much that goes into it, and you will get better with the more reps you do. So if you're doing 3 or 4 hooks every single video, you're going to speed up 200 to 300 times your learning curve so that you can progress and get better at creating and delivering better hooks for your audience.
I also think it's really important that you do one after the other as well. So I know some people find it really strange to actually just keep the actual camera recording while they're actually doing these hooks and intros. But honestly, just keep your camera on record the first hook and intro, maybe take a pause, maybe have a sip of some water or something, and then say the next one, which is the second one, and then the third, and then the fourth. Just keep the camera rolling all that time. Don't stop it, because what you want is you want the sound to be the same all the way throughout your video. So what we've found many times when we've come across members that are trying to do this, recording it 3 or 4 times, is they keep clicking on the stop button or pause button. Don't do that. Just keep it on record, and at least that way the sound stays the same all the way through, even though you'll actually mention different hooks and intros throughout the script.
Such good advice. I think keeping the camera rolling, and then you can cut out in the edit, you can cut out any spaces you have, and then you can choose your best one from there, is such good advice. And the other thing I really like that you mentioned is the having a glass of water handy. I mean, I've always got water on my desk, so there's a reason why all the TV shows that you used to watch back in the day, they used to have a glass of water in front of the presenter and in front of the guest. Because as you're presenting and as you're talking, you do need to have a sip of water every now and then to help you, and it just smooths out your voice. Or while you're talking, I actually need a sip of water right now.
So yeah, this slide actually makes me laugh, actually, Carl, because we mentioned so many times about spending a lot of time in your packaging. So spend a lot of time in your title, spend a lot of time on your actual thumbnail, just to get it just right. And it's the same on your hook and your intro as well. I don't think many viewers basically take this into consideration. They spend so much time on other things that they deem to be important. They don't realize that the hook and the intro are just as important. And I think this actual slide illustrates this really well. You can see that the actual weighting of the 5-second weak hook basically is a lot stronger than the 20 hours of high-end editing that you're going to do in your video. So it's really, really important that you spend a lot of time on your hook and intro, because if you don't and you have a very weak one, it doesn't matter how good the rest of the script is. Like you said earlier in this podcast, you're going to lose a lot of your members if you have a very weak and poor hook and intro.
Yeah, it is so true, and it's so hard to wrap your head around when you are a new YouTuber, how this really works and functions, and the time and effort that you put into making the videos. And I always like to go back to the 80-20 rule. So 20% of your efforts are going to give you 80% of your results. So we need to identify what are the 20% of the actions that are going to give you 80% of the results for your YouTube videos, especially when you're first starting out. And this is really where the rubber meets the road, is your hook should be getting way more attention and way more time allocation into making it really good. Because if your hook doesn't do its job, if it fails in the first 5 or 10 seconds, all the editing time you've done, all the time you've been filming, everything you've put into making this video so amazing is pointless, because you can't get them to actually keep watching the video. So I like to try and allocate more time towards making your hook really good, presenting your hook really well, and editing your hook. So editing those first 10 seconds is so important to make sure that we can get more of your audience to be able to watch the rest of your video.
Exactly, and I also think as well, I understand why people don't want to put as much time in the hook and intro as we would expect as well. I think it feels a bit strange to spend so much time on the first 10 seconds of a script, doesn't it? I mean, if you think about it logically, maybe you've got 8 or 10 minutes of script to actually get through, And to spend so much time on the first 5 or 10 seconds really just does, I suppose for a lot of people, it just doesn't compute. Why would I need to spend that much time on it? But like we've already said, the fact that there's such a massive drop off if you don't get this right, it doesn't matter how good the rest of the 9 minutes or 15 minutes of the rest of the script is good. If the hook and the intro don't work and the people don't stay when they're watching the video, then yeah, you might as well not actually record the video at all. Spend as much time on the hook and the intro as you can, and then it doesn't matter that even if the script isn't as strong as you would hope it to be, the fact of the matter is the hook and the intro have done all the heavy lifting that makes the rest of the scripts a lot easier for them to actually watch. So this is an important slide, Carl. This one is about the broken promise trigger. So sometimes, even though you're delivering a really good hook and intro, you're not linking the hook and intro to the rest of the video. Maybe you can speak to that and some of the problems that people have when they're crafting their hook and their intro.
Yes, Des. So I think it's so important to make sure that all of these work really, really well together. If your hook doesn't align with the title and the thumbnail, people are going to feel it straight away. They're probably not even going to get to the 10 seconds. They're going to feel it in the first 5 seconds. And it's so important to make sure first what you say on your hook aligns with the promise from your title and your thumbnail. And then visually, what are you showing? What are they seeing in their video to make sure that the promise is fulfilled? So if you're making a video about teaching someone how to fly a kite for kite surfing, but they start watching the video and you at home in your lounge talking about it, they're going to feel disappointed because they were expecting to be out at the beach, seeing a kite, seeing a windy day. The expectations that get built up in someone's mind, even before they click on your thumbnail and title, you really need to make sure that your hook aligns with that.
Yeah, and also as well, again, I think especially a lot of new YouTubers don't actually understand how the system works. They don't understand how the algorithm works. They think if they deliver a really great script, or even if they read it from bullet points, even if they give the best performance in the world, they think that matters. What matters to YouTube now is, before it was click-through rate, so the amount of people that click on the actual video when they're browsing. But what they're really looking for is the satisfaction rate. That's the important thing they're looking for. And if multiple of your videos are actually published and that satisfaction rate isn't actually on point, then YouTube is going to basically, it's not going to look favorably on the rest of the videos that you're uploading. You've actually got to work even harder as a YouTube creator to kind of convince YouTube that, listen, the first 5 or 10 videos weren't great, but this one is going to be fantastic. So you really, if you can, get into the habit of really working on your hook and intros, and it makes your video uploads in the future so much easier to pass through that filter that YouTube has.
Definitely does. And I think the one thing that we need to shift the mindset towards is a long-term mindset. So if you start breaking promises in your hooks, so you misalign the title, thumbnail, the hook, you're going to lose trust over time. And if the viewers on YouTube don't give you much of a chance, if you break their trust once, they're not going to come back and watch your second video or your third video. They're going to see it and they're going to remember the last promise that you made and that you broke the promise. They're not going to believe that what you're showing in the next thumbnail and title is what is actually going to be in the video. So you really only have one chance with your new viewers to build this trust, and we don't want to break that promise. We want to fulfill the promise and give them exactly what we're telling them. So the second video of yours that they see and the third video they see, they know that you're going to fulfill on the promise. So they're more likely to then click and watch your second video and watch your third video. The long-term game of your hook is so important with building trust with your audience.
So Carl, would you recommend then, as a new YouTuber, do you think it's actually a good idea to maybe create shorter videos? I know we've spoken about the one problem, one solution type videos that new YouTubers should make. So they're basically answering one problem that their viewer is actually asking. But if you think about it logically, if they can really nail the hook and intro and then get into the meat of actually answering the person's problem, let's say, for example, it's a 3 or 4 minute video. Do you think they've actually got a better chance of that video performing because they've kept it shorter? What do you think?
Yes, Des, I think keeping it short is probably the best thing you can do at the start of your journey. And what it does is it allows you to stay focused on that one problem, one solution, and it lets you get to the point quicker. You don't have to explain this huge introduction. We're going to cover these 72 different topics, and I'm going to tell you everything about this entire guide. If it's just one problem, one solution, you can deliver the hook, deliver the promise, and then get into the value as quickly as possible. And that will really help your retention and help build the trust with your audience that you first, one, respect their time, and two, you're going to get to the point really quickly and deliver value as quickly as possible.
That's it. I mean, how many videos have we watched where as soon as you play the video, there's this little, intro music and there's little funky graphics going on at the very beginning of somebody's video, or they're basically telling you about their life before they get to the hook and intro. I mean, all of those things are killers for your video. And like I said, if you can keep it short, the hook, the intro, get into the meat of actually answering the person's problems, their pain, you're going to, even though the video might not perform that well because it's a much shorter video, if you're a new YouTuber, doing it this way, and this is something that we've talked about previously as well, keeping your videos short and making several of them just increases your cadence. It gets you better actually at creating the hooks and intros. And as time goes on, as you get better at doing this, you just start increasing the length of your videos. So you start off at 3 or 4 minutes and then just go to the 6 minutes after maybe you've recorded 5 videos or 10 videos, and then maybe go to 8, and then go to 10, then go to 15. Just keep extending it. But by keeping the video short as you're just starting out, it makes it a lot easier then for you to actually keep the cadence up, keep recording, keep publishing, and actually getting better at your art, which is obviously making YouTube videos. So Carl, just going back to what we were just saying in the previous slide, this slide is really funny and made me laugh actually when I saw it. Again, we've spoken about the funky graphics, and then this one, it's obviously talking about spinning logo animations. And to be fair, I don't see this as much as I used to. It was a thing in 2024 and 2025. But I think the "Hi guys, welcome back to my channel," that's probably one of the most killer lines. Or when I say killer, I don't mean in a great way, I mean in a really bad way. When you assume that people know who you are. If you think about it logically, Carl, most people don't even know. They've never seen you before, never heard of you before. They've typed a query into YouTube, typed a query into Google. They want an answer to their problem. You saying, "Hi guys, welcome back to my channel," means absolutely nothing to them. And if anything, it just wastes time, doesn't it?
Definitely, Des. I think knowing that most of the viewers that are going to start watching your video are new to your channel and don't know you, and understanding their psychology. So they're there to solve a problem for themselves or to find out information for themselves. They don't really care that much about you. They are selfish human beings, and unfortunately, that's how human beings are. They're really only concerned with what they need and how they can solve their problems. So anything like these logos and the YouTube stingers that we used to have, and I remember how popular they used to be back in the day, and everyone wanted a great looking YouTube stinger as their intro with the logo spinning around and sparks flying off. But that doesn't add value to your video and it doesn't deliver value to your viewer. So that's really what we need to focus on, is understand that they're new, they're short on time, their attention span is really short. So we need to tell them why and what they're going to get from the video and get into that value as quickly as we possibly can. And I think new YouTubers really battle to understand what they can actually cut out of the video in the hook and what is important and what isn't. So it's really, you need to cut as much as you possibly can without losing any of the message. And when you're doing the reps, like Dave says, get the reps and get the reps. And when you're doing that and you're doing high volume, you can practice, take a little bit more out. And if your viewers don't understand what's going on, they will let you know in the comments. They'll tell you that they got lost or there wasn't enough information or you weren't clear enough about a specific topic. I think practicing how much you can take out and how short your hook can be and getting to that value really quickly is a very good thing to start when you're doing the reps at starting growing your YouTube channel.
Absolutely. And one trick as well, if you are used to actually making YouTube videos and you're, I don't know, maybe you've published already 50 or 75 videos or 100 videos, for example, on your channel, there is a little trick you can use, and I think Carl used this as well, and I use this in a lot of in my videos, is basically editing the whole video. Okay, so get your hook, get your intro right, edit the rest of the video, come to the very end and you're happy with it. But then what you want to start doing then is actually picking out the really important points or funny points or stuff that, you know, is kind of an exclamation mark of a point. You basically cut those up and you put those at the very front of the video as well. It's a nice little tip as well. So what we're doing is we're cutting up those clips that are what we feel is the most important ones, maybe 2 or 3 seconds, and we're putting those right at the very front, all right? So the person actually kind of sees the actual best points of the video first, and then you can come with your hook and the intro, and sometimes even that makes it more powerful. I know you've tried this in the past as well, haven't you, Carl?
Yes, it works so well. There's a really good example to look at who does this. Probably the best on YouTube is the Diary of a CEO. They take all the best little snippets of everything that's spoken about in a long podcast, and they put that into the first 10 to 15 seconds. So it's really nice to get these high value, valuable points of what's actually happening in the video and what you're going to get into. And it gives you a little window into what to expect and what the interesting parts are going to be to convince your viewer to keep watching your videos.
How many seconds do you think you should use of that, Carl? Obviously, if you're hooking your intros around 10 or 15 seconds, how much of the other smaller clips, the best ones from the video, how long should that be? Would you recommend?
Is I'll try and make it as short as possible, and this is where the practice and the reps come in, and how short you can make it while still making it intriguing and valuable and creating the curiosity. So we can't make it like each clip can't be a second, but we want to keep it as short as we possibly can while still getting the message across.
Okay, I really love this slide. This one is called the anchor viewer attention with structure and not luck. So we're basically trying to gain some trust here with the viewer. But at the same time, we want to kind of try to actually ride the wave of those dopamine hits. And it sounds like a really horrible term, but this is honestly how it works. So when somebody basically is scrolling through the app on their phone and they come across your video, as soon as they click on it, they really want to be excited. They want to know what's coming up in the video. And the way in which you actually keep their actual attention is you employ different things that are going on in the video while you're actually delivering in your hook and your intro. Carl, maybe you can speak to that. How have you used this in the past? Obviously, we've got 3 pillars here, but how would you actually do this, or how would you recommend somebody do this in their videos?
Yeah, it is. So having the 3 pillars are really nice to give you a basic structure so you know you can hit each point in the pillar. So setting the expectation in pillar 1, you really want to, like we've been saying the whole along, confirm the promise that the title and thumbnail made. You want to talk to the exact topic and what they're going to get. And then the stake is going to talk to the benefit that they're going to get out of the video, but you can also talk to opportunity cost if they don't watch your video. What is it going to cost them? What are they going to miss out on? What are they not going to know about? And that stakes really brings in the FOMO, where people feel like, geez, I really need to watch this video, otherwise I'm going to miss out on something new that I can learn, or something that's going to help my business, or something that's going to help my YouTube channel grow. So using that FOMO to create the curiosity, they want to find out what you are going to deliver in the video. And then 3 is the speed, and it really comes back to what we've been saying about try and cut out as much as you can. Don't drag your hook and intro out to 30 seconds, 45 seconds. I saw a new YouTuber's hook the other day. It took them a minute and 30 seconds to complete their hooks. They really dragged everything out. You don't need to speak for this long. So your speed to getting to the value, the quicker you can get to the value, the more people are going to stick around, and the more they're going to see the benefit quicker. I think speed is a really big thing that you can focus on in the beginning.
Absolutely. And let's use the example of a review as well, Carl. Let's say, for example, you're reviewing a sneaker or a trainer, as we say in the UK. At the very beginning, even though you're delivering your hook and your intro, you really want to have an image, or you want to be holding up that sneaker or trainer like I said, just confirming that that person is in the right place. If they see that it's a review of a sneaker or a couple of sneakers that you're going to do on that video, and then it's just you speaking, it does. I don't even think if your hook and your intro, even if they're that fantastic, the fact that that person can't see the sneaker or in the background or you holding it, I think it's going to make a huge difference, even if the hook and the intro are any good.
Makes a big difference. A good example of this is Joe's just done a review on one of the new Essex shoes that has come out. And he planned the thumbnail and the hook intro so well to show the visual representation. So he took a photo for the thumbnail with him holding the shoe out, and then his hook started with him holding the exact shoe that he's talking about, and then pulling it towards him and explained three cool features about the new shoe. So straight away, it confirms he's got the shoe in his hand. He's going to show me like the three cool new updates that the shoe's got. So his hook really delivered so well on the promise, and it created curiosity because now there were three different features that he was going to explain and test out while he was running. So that works really well if you can link those two together.
Exactly, and didn't those two videos do really well? Actually, it's something he changed, didn't he, in his style of those videos? And it kind of those two videos. I'll see if I can put them on the B-roll as we're talking. But those two videos have really exploded his channel now just by doing the elements that we're talking about in this podcast, doing those things correctly, ticking all those boxes. He's had two outliers now, hasn't he?
You're such a good example of putting this into practice and it working. And now his channel's monetized, and there's two really nice breakout videos where he's taken this and put it into practice, and it's worked really well.
Okay, so I quickly touched on this in the last slide, but I want to actually just double down and double click on this one, Carl. So again, it's basically, we're talking about when somebody clicks on the actual video, they look to the title, look at the actual thumbnail, and you're delivering your hook. There are certain little tricks you can actually do in order to actually keep their attention. I'll go through a few of the ones that I've done, and I don't know if Carl wants to do it with his, but you can either bring in an image. So as you're talking, the first 15 seconds, you can bring in an image, okay? You can bring in an overview of a video, maybe of something that's going to happen later on in your video, or you can bring B-roll in, maybe of some scenery that you've shot maybe earlier in the week, for example. But you know what my favorite one is, Carl? It's not even an image, it's not even a video. I just like the actual cut in and out. So maybe make me slightly larger, make me slightly smaller. And I find just that little thing, that little piece of editing within the video, I think, I can't remember what the name of it is, but that is kind of what I would like to use in my videos just to keep their attention. So not only am I delivering the hook and the intro, there is actually something visually happening on the screen. It's just, I don't know, it's just like a quick pattern interrupt that really kind of disrupts their thought process. They're listening to what you're saying, watching what's going on in the video, but then something changes, even if it's just a small, slight change, it just keeps their attention. I don't know if you've used the same tricks in your first 10 or 15 seconds.
I really like that little punch in or punch out as you are making different points. And if you need to emphasize anything, it's really nice to zoom in. So it feels like you're leaning forward into it and giving them more information. And then if you have a bigger perspective, or if you want to say something more broader, then you can zoom out and make it a little bit bigger. And I think this comes back to the 80-20 that we spoke about earlier. When you are editing your video, you want to spend 80% of your time on the first 20% of the video. So spend the most time making this hook visually look really good. We gave the example of a podcast like Diary of a CEO, where you're taking the best highlights. If you don't have a podcast, then you can just show some visuals over your hook at the beginning. Most of us in the educational channel space are going to be having a talking head video. But visually, what can you show that'll keep people intrigued and give them a little sneak peek into what's coming later? So if we're making a video about getting 1 million views on YouTube, can you show a screenshot of the video that you've made with the 1 million views in your dashboard? And then show them how you wrote the description so it can bring in more information. Or can you show them the thumbnail so that it's going to show why people are so curious to click on it? What little visual points can you bring into the edit that'll add to the words in the script that you're saying with the hook? because visually, people are going to process information visually much faster than they can process verbal information.
Excellent. And there's a little tip as well that we picked up earlier on, and I think even you've mentioned it as well previously. And it's a really great trick, and it's one that I love to use, and I use it a lot. And I don't think people realise when they're watching it, especially if they're new YouTubers, they don't realise what's going on. So in your 10 or 15 seconds of your hook and intro, if you are going to bring in an element, whether it's an image or whether it's a video, what you do is before you're going to mention something that you're going to talk about, you actually bring in the clip maybe half a second or even a quarter of a second just before you're going to mention it. And what it does, it brings something up on the screen that's not relevant to what you were just talking about, but then you actually start talking about it. It's kind of like a bit of a reset in the actual viewer's brain when it happens. So what most new YouTubers do is as soon as they're going to start talking about something, they start talking about it and then they show the image. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about showing it just a split second before, and then you actually mention what you're going to talk about. And again, it's just a quick reset in the viewer's brain, just thinking, geez, what's going, oh, right, okay, yeah, they're on about this. That's a really good trick. And if you can kind of do it in your editing, if you can just move that clip or that video just ever so slightly to the left, just before you mention what you're going to talk about, it's a really great trick to actually keep the retention, and it makes your hook and your intro so much more powerful.
Such a good way to use the pattern interrupt. I like that, Dave.
Yeah, you gave it a name as well, didn't you? Where you actually slide in one image before another image. I can't remember what you called it. There was a name for it, wasn't there?
Yeah, so it's called a J cut or an L cut. So when the visual shows up before your audio, and if you think of, it's hard to visualize here, but maybe we can show in the editing program, the audio kind of creates the J with where your talking head is. And then if your audio carries on after the clip, that's called an L. So the audio carries on at the bottom.
Excellent. Maybe that might be a little bit too advanced for a lot of viewers, but if you are ready to actually try that and show that in your videos, it's going to make so much difference if you can actually add those into your videos.
So one of the nice things, if you are starting out and you're not 100% sure of how to use hooks in the beginning, it's really nice to find some templates that are easy to start with and use those, and you can slowly start adapting these templates for your YouTube channel. There are 3 plug-and-play templates that you can start using here. The first one is kind of the tutorial-based video. So your hook is just going to be, in this video, I'm going to show you how to do X. So like a lot of my videos were tutorials when I first started out. One of the examples where I showed people how to verify a YouTube channel, and my hook was just, in this video, I'm going to show you the step-by-step process on how you can verify your YouTube channel. Let's get into it. So it's as short as possible and getting to the point straight away. And really the framework for that one is you trying to get someone a result. So getting to the point as fast as you possibly can works really well. The next framework is pulling in fear, and this is really on the diagnostic teardowns. So you're really talking about stop doing X or you'll never achieve Y. You can insert how it's going to apply to your videos there. And then the third one is the story, and the story works really well, and it's going to get even better as AI comes more and more into the YouTube game. If you can talk to your stories and talk to your experiences, you are going to have a unique perspective. A lot of what we see on YouTube now is a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, and everyone is saying the same thing. If you can lean into the story and start speaking from your own experience, your videos are going to do so much better. So one of the templates that you can use for the story was, I was at my lowest point when I discovered, and then you talk about the system or the principle or the guide that you discovered. Or you can even talk about a book that you read, or someone has influenced you in a certain way. So one of my big influences was Tim Ferriss and his TED Talk on fear setting. So I've done a couple of videos and a couple of posts on, I was at my lowest point before I could quit my job and I was stuck in a corporate job. And then I discovered Tim Ferriss's fear setting TED Talk. And I listened to it and I implemented it, and it helped me quit my job and start my YouTube channel. And that story, that experience is completely unique to me. So people find it interesting and it feels new because they haven't heard it before. I really think a good way to be unique on YouTube is to really lean into that story and talk about those case studies. So those are three simple structures that you can kind of use as templates to get you going as you're practicing when you're starting out on YouTube.
Thanks a lot, Carl. And do you actually recommend using all three of those frameworks as well? Obviously, they've all got their. There's a reason why you use them at a certain point or in a certain video. Would you actually recommend a new YouTuber try all three of these out?
I think it's so good to try all three. You need to test it out and see which ones first you enjoy making and you resonate with. And then second, what does your audience enjoy? Which videos do they engage with more? Every audience is different, every niche is different. So it's important when you are practicing your videos and getting the reps in, to try all three of these formats to see how you feel about them and to see how your audience engages with them.
Excellent. And which one do you think's your favourite? I know you've done a lot of how-to videos in your time and your channel, but which one of these would be your favourite one to use now, at this time now?
My favorite is the story days. I definitely
Yeah?
think talking about stories and explaining experiences is one of the best ways to do it, and it helps you be unique. I always lean back to the tutorials because that's where we've got the results and that's where we've got the most views and what has grown our YouTube channel the most. But I think it all depends on the outcome that you want. So your stories and your case studies are always going to build more trust with your audience. And if you want to attract new customers, your case studies and stories are going to do that the best for you.
This one is one of my favourite, the open loop. I love using these, Carl. These are so good. So I'm going to give you just a quick example of how I've used this in the past. So generally, if you're doing what we call a listicle video, you're basically, maybe it's like 5 tips of something or 10 tips of something. The way you open a loop, so you're opening the idea of what's going on or what's going to happen later, and you basically just say something like, in this video we're going to talk about the 7 tips of XYZ, but do you know what? Number 5 is going to be amazing. When you actually see and you watch that, that is going to be amazing, but we'll get to that. That's what we call an open loop. So those sort of things, that sort of technique within a hook and an intro is extremely powerful. And again, if you don't know a lot about open and closed loops, start getting on this as quickly as you can, because you don't only have to use these in the very first part of your video, you can use it all the way through your video. And granted, it's going to be a bit harder for you if you're new at using the open and close technique, but honestly, if you can actually get into starting using these, especially in the hook and the intro, it's going to make your video so much better. The retention is going to be so much better through the rest of the video if you can incorporate it and learn this strategy. What do you think, Carl?
Yeah, it is. I think it's such a powerful strategy to bring into your videos. And an open loop can just be your hook, but you can also add in open loops during your video to keep people engaged all the way through your video. I think as new YouTubers, you really battle to understand how to craft these open loops and how to get started. So I know you've been really good at implementing it, but maybe you can talk a little bit to how to use the LLMs to help you integrate these open loops into your videos and your scripts.
Absolutely, yes. So I use a piece of software called Claude, which is obviously a chatbot, it's an LLM. And what we do is we have a project that actually has the structure of our script. So it automatically has all the right things in it. So it has the hook, it has the intro, it has kind of obviously the meat of what you're trying to actually say in the video, obviously cover that pain. But we also have these open and closed loops within the actual script. So let's say, for example, we're going to talk about, how to get more views on YouTube, for example. At specific points in time, maybe on the 3-minute mark, on the 5-minute mark, on the 7-minute mark, we have several open and closed loops where we're introducing the concept, but we're saying we're going to actually talk about it later on in the video, all right? And what that means is the person that's actually watching the video thinks, okay, well, they've just introduced the topic. I now really want to hear the end of that. So we structure that within the script, and every script has these, all right? Has these open and closed loops all the way through. I would say as well, as a maximum, I wouldn't put any more than 3 or 4 in there. Otherwise, it just gets a little bit too much. But yeah, I would say 3 as an average, open and closed loops, 1 at the beginning, 1 in the middle, and maybe 1 about 3/4 of the way through your script. Like I said, we have them as a format already, all right? So every video follows the same path, but you can have as many as you want, or you can just have 1, which would be in the hook and the intro.
Very nice. Thanks, Des. And I think also if you want to look at good examples, I mean, YouTube is a really good place to look at the YouTubers that are doing it really well, look at examples there. And then also look on Netflix in the series that you watch. If you find a series that you feel like you start binge watching a bit, listen to the open loops that they always add at the end of each episode. They always open a loop so you're curious and what's going to happen. Oh, I just need to watch the next episode so I can find out what happened here. They're really good at opening a loop at the end of each episode to keep you curious and keep you coming back wanting to watch the next one.
Absolutely. And I think a really powerful one as well, and again, this is a little bit more advanced, and I think I've used it a few times, and I know you have as well, is when you say in the next 8 minutes, I'm going to tell you X, right? You can't actually say that at the very beginning, okay? You need to actually find out how long your video is going to be. If it's 9 minutes, you need to actually come back to the actual beginning and say it's 9 minutes. If it's 15 minutes, you have to say that in the script as well. So in essence, the way it works is you basically say your first hook and your intro, go through all of your scripts, get all the way to the end, make sure you edit it, and then when you actually find out how long it is, you can then go back and say, right, in the next 10 minutes, we're going to show you how, and that kind of just ties in, letting the actual viewer know that in the next 10 minutes, this is what they're going to learn. But it's important to actually do that bit at the very end, because if it's a 12-minute video and you say in the next 10 minutes, obviously it's going to throw it all out, all right? So you need to make sure you finish your edit first, and you can go back in your actual script and say in the next 10 minutes, in the next 12 minutes, in the next 15 minutes. Okay, this is tying it up really nicely, Carl. So basically what this is basically saying is it says pass the baton without dropping the momentum. So obviously the hook is one of the most important parts of your script, in most important parts of your video, but it needs to tie into the main content. And I think what this slide is basically trying to say is you need to actually come up with your hook and intro, but get to the meat of your video as soon as possible.
Yeah, so good to make it flow into each other so it doesn't feel like these hard different parts of the video. It really needs to have a smooth golden thread going through all the time.
So Carl, this is one of my favorite slides of the whole process. So this is the complete architecture of gaining the actual trust of your viewer. So first you've got your promise, okay? The promise of what you're going to actually deliver in the video. Then you've got the fulfillments. You've got the expectation, you've got the stake, and you've got the speed. You're fulfilling on what they actually want to watch in the video. Then you've got the baton pass, which we just saw in the previous slide, where you're basically matching the hook and the intro and linking it with the actual meat of the actual video, what you're trying to deliver on. The question that the viewer is asking, you're delivering it now, and you want to try and keep those as close as possible. And then the tension line, I would actually call the tension line the open and closed loop. So you're basically building in story, opening something you're going to talk about later on, and then going to close it, answer what you actually were saying earlier on, but you close it later on. Have you actually used this format before in your scripts as well, Carl?
Yeah, it is. I think visually it's so nice to see this roadmap because it ties everything that we've been talking about together so you can visually see how it's going to flow in your video. It's definitely the structure that we use and it's such a nice system to implement so you know which parts of which video are doing which jobs.
So this slide, Carl, this one is really interesting. And again, I don't see many YouTubers do this. So what I like to do with the one-to-one clients that we work with is actually go back through their old videos just to see how well the hook and intro was in those previous videos, because you can learn so much from those. What people generally do is they kind of record a video, publish it, and then they kind of forget about it and go on to the next one. But what your old videos can tell you, if you play them back and you look at where the dips and the the valleys are, is you can actually see where you did well. What did you say in that last video that you can probably use in your next video going forward? And we've always said, obviously, in this podcast and throughout the videos we've made, you really want to try and get 1% better with every video. If you can get 1% better, it compounds. And by doing this strategy, this technique of actually going back through and having a look to see what you did well, what you didn't do well, when the drop-off was, you can learn so much, which will help you in your next video.
Spot on, Des. And I think the biggest thing that holds back new YouTubers at the start is what to spend their time on. So how to prioritize what they're investing their time in for each video. So like Des said, focusing on getting 1% better every time. And then I'm going to come back to, I'm going to drill this with you guys. It's 80-20, 80-20, 80-20. Where are the 20% of actions that are going to give you 80% of your results? And your hook and the first 10 to 15 seconds is the most important thing that you can spend your time on. So when you're going back and reflecting on your videos, like Dad said, and we're going into the analytics and we're looking at that retention graph, and we're looking at how many people fell off in the first 10 seconds and how much of the audience fell off in the first 30 seconds, we're learning lessons on where we can improve 1% every time. And spending more time on your hooks, like Des said, record 3 or 4 hooks is going to give you the best chance of improving in your hooks, making them better, and then in your edit, allocating more time to bringing those highlights and bringing those interesting visuals into the first 10 or 15 seconds. So you have a good verbal hook, but you also have a good visual hook, so those two can work really well.
So at this point, Carl, I'd like to actually, if you can just tell us who you are and obviously the communities that you have. We spend a lot of time on these videos, we spend a lot of time researching, and I suppose a lot of the members want to know who we are and what sort of communities that we offer.
Yeah, sure, Des. So I help new YouTubers grow on YouTube. So if you want more help and more of a roadmap and a step-by-step process that you can follow, then we'll leave a link for you down below this video. My community is called the Easy Views community, and we help you grow your YouTube channel. What is your community about, Des?
Yeah, so mine is called the Content Revenue Lab, and we help over 40s monetize their YouTube channels. That's not to say that if you're under 40 that you can't join, but we are specifically helping over 40s monetize their channels. And we're not talking AdSense, by the way. We're talking other things like digital products, courses, and obviously starting your own school community. So yeah, if that's of interest to you, like Carl said, the link is in the description. Well, I hope you enjoyed this edition of the podcast. We're talking about hooks and intros, and we wanted to actually talk about this for so many weeks, and now we got the time to, and obviously realize now that it is so important to get this right. The first 10, 15, 20 seconds of your video are so important. We really want you to actually spend the time and actually craft out a really good hook and intro. All right, this is really important. So what we want to do is, in the next podcast, Carl, is we were actually talking about how we can actually, I don't know, if you've made 50 or 75 videos, how you can actually make them feel a bit new. How can you actually improve what you have been doing previously to make them look new to your viewer? Is that what you want to talk about next?
Yeah, so really nice to be able to dive into 2 case studies that we want to share with you guys of how YouTubers have managed to stand out in the sea of videos. We all know how many videos get uploaded to YouTube every single day. So how do you as a new YouTuber really stand out and bring your own unique perspective to YouTube? So we're going to do a little deep dive into those case studies, give you some ideas of how you guys can create videos that will be able to stand out on YouTube.
Excellent. So thank you so much. I appreciate you watching the podcast this week, and obviously we'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot.